yeah. It's 8:21 on News Radio KWOS. We've got the best guests and the best topics on the best show in the state of MO. It's News Radio KWOS with Austin Petersen and John Marsh. I'm loving what I'm seeing up in Canada. A Canadian trucker protest has got the government of Canada declaring an emergency. Joining me to discuss right now is one Freedom Trucker from America to talk about the Freedom Truckers. Good morning, Reed Coverdale. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, Austin. How are you?
Doing great, brother. Thanks so much for calling into the show this morning. We're looking forward to hearing about what's happening. Last I heard, the big news with the Freedom Truckers in Ottawa who are shutting it down and chasing Justin Trudeau out in a rail. Last I heard was that people had donated millions of dollars, including Elon Musk, through GoFundMe. GoFundMe shut them down, and now cops, Canadian cops, are going around stealing gasoline from truckers to try and get them to go away, which is kind of hard to go away when your truck's out of gas. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, it's insane, man. It's not like GoFundMe just privately decided to not fund this anymore either. It was pressure from the Canadian government. The Ottawa Police Department tweeted out either yesterday or the day before thanking GoFundMe for dropping this after pressure from the Canadian government. And now obviously you have the police interfering, stopping people from bringing the truckers any supplies, bringing them any fuel. So this is literal fascism. This is the government trying to suppress a very peaceful protest. I talked to someone on my show yesterday who's been up there the entire time. They're picking up all their own trash. They're not hurting anybody. There's no crime. It's a very well restrained protest that's just there trying to be annoying until they lift the mandates, and the way they're being treated is deplorable.
Now, Reed, not only are they having their source of funding ripped out from underneath them, they have their gasoline ripped out from underneath them. They're being smeared as far-right protesters. I'm also seeing things like Facebook is taking down their pages that they use to organize. They are having, the whole world is against these guys, but more and more people are waking up, and we're seeing alternative media institutions really take the reins in reporting on this story, aren't we?
Yeah, the guy I had on last night, he's been basically smeared as a terrorist. It's absolutely ridiculous. And these guys aren't far right. They're not neo-Nazis. They're not racist. They're not any of these things. You watch the videos, there's men, women, and children from all sorts of different backgrounds who are at these protests. It's not just truckers. You have, thousands of regular people just attending. And you're absolutely right. It's I was watching CNN yesterday, and they were comparing the trucker protests to the virus, saying that it's spreading like a virus. And everything's painted in a completely negative light, and it's really too bad.
Reed, one of the things that people don't think about is that every time they go to the grocery store and get dinner, they have a trucker to thank. When truckers are doing things like this, it means more goods aren't getting to the market. But maybe it's time for people to have to make a sacrifice.
Yeah, man. Well, in Canada, things are so much worse than they've been here. I think about 75% of Canada's exports go to the United States, and about 50% of their imports come from the United States. So when they pass this new restriction on trucking that you need to be vaccinated or quarantined or all this stuff if you're going to go over the border, that really affects basically all Canadian truck drivers. It's been hard to live up there. If you're not vaccinated, you can't ride a bus, you can't take an airplane flight within the country. It's hard to get over some state borders from province to province. They really treat you like a second-class citizen. It's basically like New York City, but nationwide in Canada. So these guys have been pushed so far that they don't really have any other options, so they had to put their foot down.
We're speaking to Reed Coverdale. He's a trucker in the United States about the Truckers for Freedom in Ottawa, Canada. Hey, Reed, I'm going to switch topics here for just a minute. I wanted to talk to you about Joe Rogan and his apologizing that's been going on the last couple of days. He's being attacked from almost all sides. Now he's being attacked pretty much from all sides because he's apologized now. A lot of libertarians and conservatives were supporting him. Some are giving him a hard time because he's under so much pressure right now. because there are circulating clips of him saying the N-word. I mean, I don't think he should apologize, but honestly, he does so much good that I feel like he deserves a break. That's just my opinion, Reed. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not happy that he apologized, and I just hope that this does not become a trend. I hope he keeps standing up and letting anyone come on his show. More concerning than the apology is that he's had dozens of episodes removed, and I haven't heard any outcry from him personally, so I'm assuming that he's been okay with this. That's the really concerning part, because over the last few years, there are many people that I really used to look up to as free speech advocates who just completely bent over backwards to make the regime happy. And I just really don't want to see that happen with him, because as you pointed out, he's done so much good. And it's not because he himself is that skeptical a person or even that radical of a person. It's just that he wants to know what's going on, and he's very inquisitive, and he'll have anyone on his show to let them talk and give their case, both from the establishment, the anti-establishment side. So
I got to tell you, Reed,
that'll be a real.
You're a content creator too. You run a podcast called Naturalist Capitalist, right? You don't have a boss who oversees your content there. I've had, working in professional media, I've had bosses who oversee my content, and for the most part, I haven't had policing of my content. I have had a few instances of what I felt like was editorial policing of my content. It's very rare, but it does happen. And I'll tell you this: it's hard. It's tough when you're put in a scenario where it's your paycheck or the content. I mean, I know he's got $100 million. He could make a principled stand right there. But, one time I had a coworker of mine threatened, because not here at this position, but another job that I had, a coworker was threatened if I didn't pull the plug on talking about a certain instance of history. You're familiar with the Bellamy Salute and the 4th of July, Pledge of Allegiance, the old Heil Hitler that we used to do here in the United States before we started covering. So I had that editorially pulled because it was going to run on the 4th of July and it was going to upset the boomers. So it got pretty heated. But it's tough to protect your content, Reed. Since you're an independent guy, you're policed by YouTube. You're policed by, you've been banned on Twitter.
Yep. Yeah, I've been banned on Twitter. I've had content removed from YouTube. It's a very fine line to walk, because you have to decide what is worth getting out into the public eye without getting yourself removed, because there's some things that you could try to publish just on a free speech stance, but maybe it's not really worth the risk because what you're trying to publish is so edgy or so outside of the circle of relevance that maybe it's not worth it to lose your channel over. So that's something I've had to figure out, is what is actually worth talking about that I won't get duped for. And that's it's been a process.
Yeah, my thing is that I've still got the Libertarian Republic. I still say what I want to say here on the mainstream airways. I'm actually kind of safer here on conservative talk radio, where there's a little bit more leeway, even though I'm a filthy disgusting libertarian. But I actually started a new vertical with a dog-based website, just because I'm like, for God's sakes, I need to have some content that they're not going to censor puppies, will they? Will they, Reed?
Yeah, no, it's hard, man. It's hard finding places that will let you say what you want to. Luckily, there are platforms like Odyssey that are coming out where you actually can say pretty much whatever you want. And I hope that more and more alternative sources of news and publishing do pop up, as the mainstream sources have just become so ridiculous with their censorship. And the average person is starting to see it. They've been censoring for a long time, but they've gotten so overbearing with it. The average person is looking for something else now.
That's right. He's no average person. He's Reed Coverdale, host of the Naturalist Capitalist. He's a trucker himself. Reed, thank you for your time. Grateful to have you here. We'll have you back. Coming up next.
Thank you, Austin.
Yep, coming up next at 8:35, Casey Pemberton's going to make a big announcement right here on our show. Only here, News Radio 950 AM and 104.5 on FM.